What up, beautiful African family? This is your main man, Theo E.J. Wilson with African Diaspora News. And unless you've been living under a rock, you know that ICE agents invaded that predominantly black apartment complex in South Shore, Chicago. This was something else. I'm going to take you down a rabbit hole, and we're going to start with this little clip from the news that amongst the melee, a lot of people miss.
They asked my name and my date of birth and asked me, did I have any warrants? And I told them no, I didn't.
She says she was then handcuffed and released around 3 a.m. Fisher says she was told if anyone had any kind of warrant out for them, even if it was unrelated to immigration, they would not be released.
Now, to some people getting detained for warrants, that ain't nothing new, right? Except when you consider that ICE and the police are two different things. And the reason is because ICE and the police serve two different masters. And so when it comes to Black Americans threatened with deportation, you can't deport us. Everybody who's saying they can't deport Black Americans, you're correct. They can't. There's literally no law in any other country that demands that they take us. We are American citizens. Deportation ain't our problem. But unlawful detention, property destruction, and disappearance just may be. Now check out these pictures of these people property. They got their houses broken into, they got their whole doors broken, they got their apartments overturned, and all sorts of property destruction that ain't gonna be paid for by nobody but them. In other words, it's gonna be hard for us to sit it out if ICE come break your couch. Of course, we already know that unlawful detention has already happened to these Black American citizens, right? They were zip tied, left outside in various states of unrobed disrepair. Folks didn't have no clothes. So we know that their Fourth Amendment rights were violated. Damn the fact that they didn't have any warrants. But what about the third D? Disappearance. Take a look at this article published by Democracy Now! We have 1,200, count them, 1,200 people that literally disappeared. Their records gone from Alligator Alcatraz. And it would be one thing if their records were gone, but they could somehow be contacted. They can't be. Their families and attorneys cannot reach these people. They have been vanished. And here is where the money trail begins. ICE is the apprehension wing of GEO Group and CoreCivic, the largest private prison industrial complex beneficiaries in the entire country. These, under the 13th Amendment, are functionally slave plantations. You see, like a lot of Black men, I've been incarcerated, got locked up in Leon County, Florida, back when I was a young dude doing young dude things, right? And I remember I sat down for longer than I should have because our broke behinds couldn't raise my bail money. I'm sitting up there yet another night, time just wasting away. These racist cops calling me boy. It's Florida. And I remember at least I had a collect call. At least there was a chain of accountability with the police officers who got me. And everybody knows that the cash bail system is a poverty-creating entity. It just exploits the poor, right? What about private prisons? What about folks who are essentially locked up and the only chain of accountability leads to shareholders? ICE is a different beast because the master it serves are the shareholders of GEO Group and CoreCivic, which means they are body snatchers for profit. And they don't care where the bodies come from. They are there to fill beds, quotas, and pockets. Now, later on in my life, in my 20s, I ended up working at a correctional facility. That was a for-profit entity. It was a youth corrections facility, and I worked there as a coach counselor. And I remember we had a site-wide meeting one day. I remember my unit manager came in and was really down and out because, man, they're just going to have to close down one of the units, a whole unit, which was a big deal back then, because there just weren't enough bodies to fill the beds. And they were looking at it like a real negative thing. I'm like, hold up, I didn't speak up at the time, but I thought to myself, now, aren't we in the business of hoping that these youth never come back? Ain't good that crime is down? Here's the thing. The prison for profit model was based on 90s crime projections, right? In the 90s, you saw this huge spike in crime all over the place. And therefore, the business model said, if this keeps going, this will be a profitable thing. But anybody who studies this thing knows that bed occupancy has been going down because crime has been going down. Crime goes down, so do profits. So when Trump gets elected and CoreCivic and GEO Group they ended up seeing that there was a huge opportunity. And yes, it turns out that a huge portion of the ICE funding that just got passed is going to these prison for profit corporations. This is called crony capitalism. The cronies are corporations and government. The Brennan Center for Justice reports the stock prices for the country's two largest publicly traded companies that own and manage prisons and immigrant detention centers soared immediately following Donald Trump's election as president. Shares in GEO Group and CoreCivic rose again the day after the president-elect announced Tom Homan, who managed immigration enforcement during Trump's first administration, as the border czar. Check this out. This is very telling. This is not the first time prison company stock skyrocketed at the news that Trump would take the Oval Office. When he was elected in 2016, the private prison industry, which analysts had referred to as beleaguered, immediately rebounded. 2 weeks later, CNBC reported that an analyst had written in a research note the Trump victory was a game changer for these stocks. Because see, one of the problems with crony capitalism is it destroys fair market competition with whoever is a corporation that cozies up with the government. Remember this term, no bid contracts, and exactly what it sounds like. The corporation, because it's already so good with the government, don't even have to compete for a bid. It just has the contract. Listen to what the Associated Press says. The federal government has signed a deal with the private prison firm CoreCivic Corporation to reopen a 1,033-bed prison in Leavenworth as a part of its surge of contracts U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has issued without seeking competitive bids. And listen to what Citizens for Ethics has to say about the big, beautiful budget bill and the practice of no contract bidding. It says, with the passage of the budget bill allocating $45 billion to increase ICE detention space, Congress has now given this questionable approach its stamp of approval. Much of the new funding is likely to benefit CoreCivic and GEO, as they can simply reopen 14 idle facilities. They also have the capacity to construct new facilities in 12 to 18 months compared to the 4 to 5 years it would take in the public sector. They can now build them faster because of these private contracts. Who do you think's gonna fill the beds, y'all? I'll say it again. Don't get caught up in the narratives, just follow the numbers. It's not about, will ICE deport or detain this group of people or that group of people. It's about cui bono, who benefits. And these folks working in private prisons have never dreamed of a situation this lucrative. You talking about they get thousands of new agents to possibly capture millions of new bodies? Do you think they care who is going to be what color when they throw them in there? That's not what money cares about. Now, we as Black Americans know white supremacy better than damn near any group in the world. I'll say better than any group in the world. When have you known a white supremacist not to bring his whole self to work? Huh? These folks are hiring podunk, meth head, no tooth having white supremacists to walk around in masks and body snatch for government contracts? This is spring break. They are in heaven right now. They're going hog wild. They're going so hog wild that they got beef with Chicago and surrounding area police officers. Check this out.
I was shocked. I've never been spoken to by a fellow law enforcement officer in such a way.
Broadview Police Chief Thomas Mills says on top of requiring 75% of his department's manpower for crowd control outside of the ICE processing facility in the west suburban city, he was personally, verbally attacked by ICE agents during a protest.
I'm a leader of a department. I know that my officers are looking at me for guidance and leadership, and I had to ensure that, I had to stay calm and not engage in such unprofessional behavior.
Chief Mills says he was walking across a skirmish on September 12th, the day this video was shot. He was called multiple expletives by an ICE agent, calling him a coward, accusing him of neglecting his duties during protests that got physical. Mills also telling the I-Team about an incident earlier this week where a pedestrian was hit by a truck near the ICE facility.
Allegedly, a ICE agent struck someone and continued on into their location. And during the course of that, while trying to gather information, there was pepper spray released while my officers right there. They felt the effects of that pepper spray where it altered their vision. You know, they were coughing, and I was on the phone with them, and they had to leave the area so they can decontaminate themselves.
Now, Broadview's mayor has issued a blistering letter to ICE excoriating their actions, saying, quote, Broadview police officers are routinely being exposed to ICE agents' tear gas volleys, forcing them out of action until they recover. Broadview firefighters and ambulance personnel are being exposed. Nearby residents are being exposed. Beleaguered Broadview residents are begging for relief from your center's siege of our neighborhood.
Oh man, these people having a ball. They get to walk around in masks and snatch people based on race? This is a dream job for these folks. They serve a different master. They got a whole nother agenda. And these boys ain't even passed police academy. They ain't even gone through the regular training that don't even be enough for them not to violate people's civil liberties and human rights. They didn't even get that. They just breaking stuff, right? And they're coming to a city near you. There's talk of expanding to Memphis. We know that's likely about to happen. Jackson, all these other blue cities that Trump don't like, and other places in red states too. This is going to continue. Don't take my word for it. Take theirs.
So the governor saying that you guys aren't doing anything to make the community safer, what would you say in response to him?
You know, I don't think the governor has ever stepped foot near a Trained Aragua member or MS-13 member or any other bad person or bad thing. So he probably wouldn't understand exactly what we're talking about. It might be way over his head. But don't worry, Governor Pritzker, we've got it covered from here. And this is just the beginning. Tonight's just the beginning. And we're going to roll on and on. We are going to turn and burn, Governor. We're going from this one to the next, to the next, to the next until they quit or are all deported and go home. And as far as him, he can either get on board or watch from the sidelines.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. And a lot of time when we say this, people say, there they go with the fear mongering. It's not fear mongering just because you're afraid. Is it fear mongering just because the truth struck fear in your heart? Or is it just the facts agitating your feelings of security, safety, and comfort? Listen, as a black man, I know that every now and then we want to break from being under the fire of white supremacy. We sometimes enjoy, I remember after 9/11, it low-key felt good to have somebody else be the focus of the folks who was upset with folks who wasn't white. It just felt good for just a second. Just get them off my back for a second, right? But the fact is, you always been in the fire. Now, look, you don't have to go out and take to the streets. You don't have to go out and risk your life. But I'm going to tell you this, black folk, it's going to be hard to sit it out if ICE come break your couch. Those brothers and sisters in Chicago were not in the streets. They were not protesting. They were not holding up signs. They was asleep in their bed, and them and their babies had their civil rights violated. The most powerful weapon in the world is not a nuclear warhead. It is an accurate assessment of the situation. And that's what we are here to help you do. And once you assess the situation accurately, then you will know how to move. And that is our job, to share with you the truth just as it is. No slant, no filter, because that's how we roll here at African Diaspora News. My name is Theo E.J. Wilson. Join us here next time. But before you do, go ahead and follow my channel, Theo Cyrus Rising, and download the app. 13 cents a day. That's about $9.99 a month. So that in case we get censored too heavily, you can still get this diaspora news that we bring to you. I'll see y'all in the next video.